Now, Crystal Palace were at the centre of all the drama on deadline day, starting with Jean-Philippe Mateta's collapsed transfer to AC Milan. That was followed by a move for Everton winger Dwight McNeil that fell through at the 11th hour. We've got Chief Correspondent Kaveh Solokol joining us on set right now to talk through everything that we know. And look, we're going to start, of course, with this deal that broke down, or what did actually happen with regards to this deal yesterday, and the partner of the player involved, who's come out on our social media very upset about what actually happened with regards to the lack of communication about the deal.
Well, this is all to do with the proposed move from Everton to Crystal Palace on loan for Dwight McNeil. Now, this deal collapsed at the last minute yesterday, and it's been very controversial the way it has collapsed. And you're right, the player's partner, Megan Sharpley, has posted a long emotional message on social media. She basically says that the player has been on a cruel, emotional roller coaster. He was promised a new life. Basically, they had their bags packed to move to London. And then in the last seconds, it all fell apart and they weren't given an explanation. And there was basically radio silence. And I think she was making a plea that although we spend a lot of time just talking about transfer deals, and there's a lot of excitement and there's a lot of drama, there are actually human beings with feelings at the centre of all this drama, and sometimes we forget about that. Now, the reasons why the deal collapsed, there are obviously different viewpoints, different sides to the story. I think from Everton's perspective, they are very clear. They feel that they did everything absolutely properly. They completed the paperwork on time. They feel that Crystal Palace did not complete the paperwork on time, and they feel that Palace pulled out at the 11th hour. And understandably, they are unhappy about the effect that this has had on their player and his family. The other side to the story is Crystal Palace's side. And I think from their perspective, I should start off by saying that they have huge sympathy for the player and what he went through yesterday. The background from their perspective to the deal was that initially they were led to believe that they could get the player for around £10 million. And that was a very attractive deal, considering he's a player who's versatile, can play on the left, can also play as a left wing back, which is very important to the system that Palace play under Oliver Glasner. But I think after talks, it became clear that the deal was actually not going to be £10 million. It was going to be closer to £20 million once various clauses were layered into the deal. And at £20 million, Palace felt that there was always a risk that the deal was not going to happen. And I'm being told that that was communicated to the player. Now, the deal finally was agreed just 45 minutes before the deadline at 6:15 p.m. last night. But of course, that left very, very little time for the deal to be completed. And also, even after the agreement at 6:15, I think there were some discussions about the payment structure, the complications surrounding that were not agreed either. So that is Palace's perspective about why the deal collapsed. Obviously, different side of the story from Everton's perspective, because they believe they did everything right, and it was just a case of Palace not completing the paperwork and pulling out at the last minute. I'm also being told that the reason that Palace pulled out, bless you,
thank you, sorry,
is not related to Jean-Philippe Mateta's move to AC Milan collapsing yesterday as well. So they're saying it was totally different. It didn't, you can't say from Palace's perspective that the reason that Dwight McNeil deal didn't happen is because they found out that they're not going to get money from Milan for Jean-Philippe Mateta, and they pulled the plug on the Dwight McNeil deal.
And why didn't that happen between Milan and Palace? What was the problem there?
Well, the problem is surrounding a long-standing knee injury that Jean-Philippe Mateta has. Now, obviously, Crystal Palace knew last week that AC Milan wanted to sign the player, and they did make Milan aware of the fact that Mateta has a knee injury and he's been playing with that knee injury for a long time. And in fact, on Saturday, they sent Jean-Philippe Mateta's medical records to Milan, highlighting the issue that he had with his knee. Now, Milan decided not to do the medical on Sunday. The medical was done on Monday. And of course, this issue with his knee came up. Now, I'm being told there's no bad blood between Crystal Palace and AC Milan. I think Palace understand why Milan decided not to proceed with the deal. But the interesting thing now is how Jean-Philippe Mateta is going to feel about all this, because he's been very quiet for a few days. I think there were some reports a couple of days ago that he'd unfollowed Crystal Palace on Instagram.
That's it, isn't it?
I'm not Instagram, so I don't know about all that kind of thing, but apparently it is serious. It's a big deal if you do that. He also posted a sort of fed up emoji on Instagram a couple of days ago because he was getting frustrated because he felt that Crystal Palace were dragging their feet over completing this deal, because it's his dream move to AC Milan. Really interesting what happens to Jean-Philippe Mateta now, of course, because Palace have signed Jurgen Strand-Larsen. Is he in the right frame of mind to play for Palace again? And also, is he fit enough to play for Palace again, considering he's got this knee injury? I think there is 100% chance that Jean-Philippe Mateta will leave Crystal Palace in the summer. They brought in Jurgen Strand-Larsen. He has been telling them for months and months and months that he's wanted to leave Crystal Palace. In the summer, he'll only have a year left on his contract. He'll definitely leave then.
Yeah, OK, well, we'll wait and see what does happen with him potentially playing. Will he not play? Well, you'll find out here for sure. Calvé, for that, thank you very much indeed.